What makes a great team? Camaraderie, sharing each other's strengths, compatibility, effective leadership, versatility, trust and loyalty? All these traits can make any team productive and have a great morale and inspiration onto others. Even those in video games rather than just in sports. Some can even go as far as being a surrogate family when they depend on each other and are so closely knit. So let's check out my top 10 favorite teams in video games. Teamwork is dreamwork after all, and may the best team win!
Let's begin. Let's begin.
Starting off the list and just barely making the cut, we have the outcasts from the Andromeda Galaxy, the Guardians. The fact is, I only experienced one game, which was actually the Telltale series, aside from seeing 2 movies of them. The Guardians started out as fugitives, just troublesome criminals doing dirty work. Star-Lord, aka Peter Quill, as one of the enlisted Ravagers and bounty hunters, Gamora, one of the daughters raised by Thanos, Drax, a vengeful destroyer wanting to avenge his family and kill Ronan, and Rocket and Groot, a couple of misfits. They met and escaped from a hefty prison, the Kiln, thanks to Rocket's ingenuity, and by the time they defeated Ronan, they became more of a surrogate family. Although, unlike the movie, Groot didn't sacrifice himself. Much like the Bebop crew, they were a group of scoundrels collecting bounty and sometimes bringing order to the Andromeda and Milky Way galaxies, with Mantis joining in later. Yeah, it does seem dysfunctional at times, and contrary to the MCU, but it actually seemed a little better and a lot less convoluted. And the results are more tolerable. With Star-Lord's leadership, Groot's heart, Drax's endurance and strength, Rocket's crafty technological skills, and Gamora's skills in deadly combat with a thawing heart, they do function pretty well. And we get to see more of Rocket's tragic past, and the teams seem to forge more faster than in the movies. Though you need to watch on the decisions Star-Lord makes, as some results can cause them to disband. But at least they reunite at the end, which is something the Telltale series does in all its games. And that's why they take the cake at number 10. I wish the latest installment can also do one hell of a job, even though the Telltale company has gone through bankruptcy. Another license-based game and team of the list is the Viper Mice from Mars. 3 anthropomorphic mice from the Red Planet, and made and mended their shattered lives on Earth. The trio escaped as the Plutarchians invaded their home and brainwashed their master Stoker, thanks to Dr. Carbuncle's maniacal experiments, and making the team lose Rimfire and Harley in the chaos. For years, until 2006, they had made a living sharing Charlie's motorcycle repair shop in Chicago and took them in. Then, Lawrence Lindbergher followed them to the new fertile planet and wreaked havoc, with the mice as the saviors. The racing game doesn't necessarily explain much, but the animated series sure did, even though I'd encountered it several years later. Much like the Guardians, I only played one game, hadn't experienced the 2006 revival yet, but they seem to be best buds going through thick and thin, unless you'd consider the game itself. There's not very much to say there, although it seems like a nice little distraction, and they're a group of soldiers and freedom fighters trained by Stoker. With my main throttle's enhanced senses and leadership sacrificed by sight, Moto's kick-ass strength and as the soul of the trio, and Vinny's charm and boldness, I suppose. They seem to be pretty adaptable, no matter what world or situation they put themselves in. Okay, let me make something clear here. Ever since I was a kid, I was never a fan of any sports titles. I could never get attached to them because they seemed boring, repetitive, there's always a new copy-paste every year, and they were mostly run by the corporate greedy minds of EA. But there was only one bizarre football game that stood out like a bleeding thumb. Mutant League Football. Out of curiosity, I picked up this unique gem, and I adored it on account of its gory violence, like Mortal Kombat's, and hilarious dialogue. And out of all the teams in the Mutant League, there was only one that was almost as an instant favorite. I can't really explain how or why the worst slammers were Grand Slam to me. Perhaps it's the diversity that made them stand out, as they were very few teams consisting of species of superhumans, trolls, skeletons, and my personal favorite, the aliens, excepting the robots. Plus, I kinda like the coach, the general's hysterical dialogue, even when he snaps and loses his temper. Hilarious! With such a versatile group and with such an awesome level from the number of skulls, they may seem as almost unstoppable as the other best three teams. And their stadium ain't too shabby either. They don't seem to be like heroes, villains, or even anti-heroes, aside from their involvement in my crossover. But I guess it's how much the game and group stood out to me that made all the difference. The last entry was sort of neutral, and the other previous two were a mix of heroism and anti-heroism. But don't villains deserve a spotlight as a great team too? Case in point, Team Galactic from the Pokemon series. And that's really saying something because of how cliché and malnourished the other organizations are. So how does Team Galactic stand out? Well, with Cyrus, for one, as his intimidating stare means absolute business. Plus in how effective he ran the Syndicate. His mission? To awaken the Creation Trio and harness the powers and energy for their own gains. Cyrus himself even goes to great lengths once he journeys to the Distortion world and wound up missing as he searches for Giratina. Team Galactic nearly succeeded in their goals, till they were thwarted by the player and had a power struggle as Saturn took over, charging ransom to the people in Sinnoh. It wasn't until Looker arrested him at the Stark Cave after its devastating eruption, while space-time was being ruptured. Also, its main role and purpose seemed quite intriguing, awakening the deities and attempting to harness their power and distort the whole universe, which is a grand scale, and they were nearly successful unlike other lousy groups. They also symbolize the planets having names like Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, and so on. and the henchmen seem rather competent and actually prove to be a challenge to the trainer, and do mean authority. Those other guys are pussies, as they're often bland, or fight over something fruitless with either land or water, or they just seem impudent in general, or is run by a complete hateable and abusive tyrant. There doesn't seem to be anything I dislike about Team Galactic, thus counting as my best criminal team in the Juggernaut. Also, thanks for pointing them out, Logan. The Zelda Juggernaut never seems to make up its mind on what the stages are supposed to be. Those schizophrenic minds at Nintendo are incredibly inconsistent. They started out as just old people, or rather the sisters in A Link to the Past, protecting the Golden Power, known simply only as the Triforce. Oh wait, this took place after the fall of the hero. So they also tried to execute Ganondorf, which turned out to be a stupid prank in Twilight Princess. I really despised what the damn creators had done, as they made them completely inconsistent and ineffective. There is an exception in Hyrule Warriors, but it won't matter since it's non-canon. I loathe what Nintendo has done with the sages, as their potential is thrown away and remade only as towns in Zelda 2, like Nintendo's own creative talents. However, there is a sliver of hope. The only acceptable role the sages played was in Ocarina of Time. The sages there are the most diverse and significant. Sages in general have their destinies passed down through a spiritual lineage, and by the time they're awake, in the case of Ganon's devastation, they're instantly chosen as the new saviors of Hyrule, and assist the hero of time when needed. Together with a potent Master Sword, they can all vanquish evil, and the legend, with their combined strength, has been proven here. Rauru, the oldest and earliest living sage, has instructed Link to find the other 6 and save Hyrule. Zelda is often the 7th sage and its core member, as the descendant of Hylia, which hardly changes. But he's soon joined by the wise and gentle Kokiri Saria, the mighty king of Gorons Darunia, the pompous Zora Rudo, the mystical Sheikah Impa, and the crafty lone wolf Gerudo thief Naburu. Go figure. Anyway, the sages were successful, but I don't believe them to be dead, and I hated the way they were discarded in other and previous installments. The sages in Ocarina are the only ones that prove what they can truly do, have an effective leadership by Rauru, and thus carrying out the legend of the hero. They're the only ones who had virtually succeeded, while the rest of the sages don't. The Bouncers seem to be one of the most simplest teams in my experience with video games. They are only a trio and main characters in the PS2 beat-em-up, and they function well for such an underappreciated gem. They consist of Sion, Volt, and Co, and at times act like the Fruitian trio. With each different background that coincidentally coexisted at the Bar of Fate, a pub in Edge suffering from high crime and low reception. Boss hired each one to protect his establishment from criminals, although their roles had exceeded once Dominique got captured. They literally saved the world from utter annihilation by a madman. Sion may seem to be the youngest and most driven out of the bunch, and the most versatile member, while Volt functions as the powerhouse and informant of the Mikado group. and Ko functioned as the spy to his own organization, Lucas, and Mace as the emotional McCoy and swift kicker out of the bunch. Volt was indeed the first to become a bouncer after he escaped from Mikado when he was being framed on Master Mikado's passing and being shot. Sion was the second bouncer as he was an edgelord looking for a fight to end his tragic life after losing Chaldea, and found Volt whom won over him as Boss gave him another chance working for him. And Ko was a strange case, as a spy for Lucas while blending in, barely since Boss didn't have enough money to hire him, yet he was still chosen as an extra. And soon came Echidna, as self-redemption convinced by Volt to quit Mikado and live a normal lifestyle. In my tetralogy, the bouncers seem to have a lot more development, and the trio work well together in combat, as the game's main focus. And this was experimental before Kingdom Hearts was established, even executing their own Trinity rushes. Even though they seem small, their skills, cohesive backstories, and restoring world order is what demonstrates what a team should truly be. While on the subject of a capable trio not owned by Nintendo, it was difficult picking a team from Sonic Heroes. Whether it be Sonic, Dark, or Chaotix, never liked Team Rose. I guess I should go with Team Sonic as it is the main trio like the Bouncers. They're the most accessible and easy to use. Each team functions with a Speedster, Flyer, and Powerhouse, and this one in particular consists of Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, respectively. It was like a dream come true for me, as I always wanted to have them perform simultaneously since Sonic 3 and Knuckles. It is the most basic as well as effective team amongst the group of trios, and they seem to be used the most often. They also seem to have a close camaraderie since that incident on Angel Island, even having a common goal to collect the Chaos Emeralds, defeat Eggman or Robotnik, and soon Metal Sonic, in which the Blue Blur gathers all the teams together to rise above and beat it with
the real superpower of teamwork!
And with all the Freedom Fighters led by Sonic and his duo, it actually turned out pretty well. Better than even the Power Trio from Sonic 06 anyway. And it does have my all-time favorite animal and Sonic character after all. Sonic being the driving force and speedster, Tails being the emotional, fragile, and more sensitive side, and Knuckles being the wise and often strong cog. They complement each other, even in the games before and after it. I kinda wish Sega would experiment with this team dynamic again. This was the most unique, and it clearly shows in how a true team operates itself. You don't always have to function as one body to make a team, nor be the main characters. Even side characters can make a prime example, just like the animal buddies from the Donkey Kong Country series. Their function is simple, to assist the Kong clan as they traverse through Kong Island, and even the enemy's territory, Crocodile Isle, and overthrow King K. Rool and the Kremlins, even rescuing their property, the Golden Bananas, and even members of their captured family. Each member is unique and versatile, for the most part. My personal favorite, Rambi the Rhino, the Ostrich Espresso, the Swordfish Enguarde, Rattly the Snake, who was replacement for Winky the Frog, The parrot Squawks, which you won't ride till Donkey Kong Country 2 and beyond. His palette swap Quawks the parrot, the spider Squitter, the elephant Ellie, the non-rideable seal Clapper, the anglerfish Glimmer, and several others. Depending on which one is used, they can function over land, water, and air, each one having their own capabilities and overcoming obstacles or plowing through enemies, some more useful than others. They can each be found bashing on their crates and sometimes even drop their own tokens, enabling more chances to get extra lives, though the latter was discontinued after the original Donkey Kong Country. They're cute, lovable, heroic, and the perfect example on being a team even when far apart. They share a common goal and assist the Kongs in their time of need. Their resourcefulness and friendship are prime examples on what a separate team can do. The Kremlings serve well, but these guys had inspired me the most as a kid, even now. I just love animals. You didn't think I would forget them, would you? While they only were established in the anime and the game it's based from, the Elite Mobile Task Force is a great team from the F-Zero series. Each pilot is playable, whether they're part of the Galactic Space Federation or not, and the group itself is very diverse. The only issue is having mostly humans and an alien, the Commissioner, running it. At least it's more fleshed out than the cast in Maximum Velocity. Led by the director John Tanaka and their active captain Jody Summer, their goal is simple as they specialize in F-Zero racing, preventing prize money from falling into corrupt hands like space pirates and mostly Dark Million. After Jody lost her brother in a devastating explosion set by Zoda and soon became a cyborg, the team was then established, consisting of Tanaka, Jody, the ex-rocker Jack Levin, the mechanic Dr. Clash, his young apprentice Lucy Liberty, the medical expert Dr. Robert Stewart, the android Mr. EAD, and my personal favorite tragic hero after arising from 150 years, Rick Wheeler. Like the Animal Buddies, they do operate together or apart, even having allies later joining the cause and expanding in my timeline. I wouldn't say it's one of the best teams in my book, but they have impacted me so much growing up. I would even say it's the most fleshed out, as each pilot has different past experiences, and their machines are also unalike, and designed for their own traits. There were a few members I utterly dislike and shouldn't belong, like Jack, Tanaka, and sometimes Jody, but while they're flawed, they can show what a family truly is. They communicate and relate to each other, even to their dark backstories. They have an effective leadership, sometimes a little too good. They have a part to play and have a common goal, some more extreme than others. And I feel they function as a family rather than a single unit. And while some may have departed, they still work as one. Yet, they aren't number one. Alright, we're on our way to number one. But before we get there, let's bring out some honorable mention.
baby.
Obvious choice for number 1. I'm sure you guys all saw it coming. Team Starfox is undoubtedly the best in my eyes. There's hardly a single member I dislike, excepting the treacherous swine Pigma and the barnacle buzzard Falco. Other than them, I like them all. It was first established before the original game in '64, when James McCloud teamed up with Peppy Hare and Pigma before General Pepper of the Cornerian Army commandeered the trio and investigate Planet Venom of Andross's suspicious activity. Thanks to that bastardized pig obsessed with greed, he betrayed the team and the group were captured. However, Peppy barely escaped, and James wasn't so lucky. Several years later, the title of leader was passed down to his son, Fox McCloud, after he graduated from the academy and enlisted his mentor Peppy and his friends Falco and Slippy along for the ride. And they've been permanent teammates ever since. And there were also some other members that joined in later games too, such as Rob, aka Nuss, from '64, Crystal and Tricky in Adventures, Mayu and Faye in Starfox 2, and Direct Eye and Zero. Yeah, not a good choice. Oh, and lest we forget its future leader, Marcus McCloud. Overall, the Starfox team are a group of mercenaries assigned to defend the Lilat system from evil forces, mainly from Andross, Starwolf, General Scales, Yaperoids, and the Anglers. And their main homeworld is the breadbasket Corneria, as well as outposts on other planets like Tina. They mostly operate inside the Great Fox, their own mothership, and they travel through all areas, including land, water, air, and space. They're the most versatile, well-renowned, and colorful cast. And of course, Fox, Crystal, Peppy, and Tricky rank as my favorite members ever. They used to inspire me as a kid, that I even created my first OCs. Retricia, the white rat and pilot of her pedalcopter, and the family of Fantrons consisting of Jiminy, Jason, Jamie, and Philly. And there were other members from the Ultimate Story such as Misty, Beauty, Rayman, Pikachu, the Powerpuff Girls, and even Peach. If only the author wouldn't have become a toxic damn sociopath. I'm the Ekron writer, and the Starfox team has always been my favorite team in video games, and there's hardly anyone that I hate there. I hope Nintendo wouldn't mess up their future further like they did with Zero and the lousy animated series. Nevertheless, they'd always be the team elitists, and always go with their motto, never give up, trust your instincts.